Today I get to talk about the power of imagination, the theme for this month. The power of imagination. Let's see if I can do this now. Is it pointed at Deb? I'm pointing, I'm clicking. I do. Oh, I turned it off. There we go. I guess I need to. There we go. Yay. All right. New clicker. Imagination. The ability to picture, image, conceptualize, envision, and dream. According to the Unity website, the disciple that governs this power is Bartholomew. He represents positive thoughts held in mind. And the corresponding color is light blue. The location is between the eyes, which we sometimes refer to as the third eye, one that enables us to see beyond our two physical eyes. Imagination. We all have it. Even though I've had some people tell me that they're not creative, they don't have much of imagination, they don't do art, all of those types of things, I can prove that every person here and beyond has imagination with one simple test. You want to play along with me for a minute? All right, close your eyes just for a moment. And think of someone you love dearly. It can be a teenage child, a parent, a spouse, a friend, a sibling. Bring them to mind. And let's say you just had a wonderful time together, laughing, having fun, doing something you both enjoy. And when your time together is over, this special person has to go home. And they promise to call you as soon as they get home. Maybe it normally takes them a few minutes to get home, or a couple of hours, or a couple of days. You say goodbye and they're on their way. And you wait for their call. But they're late. Hours go by past the time that you know they should be home and calling you. You finally decide to call them, but they're not answering their cell phone. Other close friends or family haven't heard from them either, and you know because you've been calling around. What thoughts are going through your mind right now about that person? Okay, open your eyes. That's your imagination running wild. You can imagine all sorts of things happening to them, can't you? And while this may not be the most positive example to demonstrate this, imagination works no matter what emotions you put into it. You may have heard the saying, worry is a prayer. Well, I've heard a new one this week. Worry is a misuse of imagination. When I was here last time, I mentioned to you this person who writes about the various powers on the Unity website. Her name is Winifred Wilkinson Hausman. And she has this to say: if we don't like the conditions we are attracting, we can change them by building new images with the eye of the mind, our faculty of imagination. And that by learning to make right use of this important faculty, guided and directed by the God self of our being, we can develop an imagination that will not only serve us well, but will also provide tremendous support in developing our other God-given powers. Imagination is a powerful tool. It helps us formulate ideas to create our life. What you think about comes about. Whatever thoughts we hold in our mind, our consciousness, most frequently, repeatedly, will likely manifest in some form in our lives. Through the power of imagination, we can take some idea or process or skill, and we can morph it into another and another and another. There are no limits because imagination is unlimited. Now, a number of dictionary definitions described imagination like this: the faculty or action of forming new ideas or images or concepts of external objects not present to the senses. It's a mental thing. It's a mental action. And I would say that most of the time for me, and I hope this is true for you, most of the time the action of forming new ideas is a positive one. Even when my mind sometimes wanders down that dark imaginary road when I'm waiting for my husband to come home from a business trip, and I have to remind myself to shine a light of love and safety and positive direction around him and me, so that we can gather up here in the consciousness of oneness and know all is well. To trust all is in divine right order. Now, in the book, The Essential Charles Fillmore, in the chapter entitled Spiritual Man, Fillmore states that whatever man's mind commands to be brought forth will be brought forth by and through the law of evolution inherent in beings. And then he offers 6 steps in the creation process. Step 1 is the awakening of man to spiritual consciousness, the dawning of light in his mind, his perception of truth through the quickening of his spirit. 2 is the development of faith, or the firmament, as Fillmore calls it. The waters represent the unestablished elements of the mind, the unexpressed possibilities in mind. Thus, the first step, or day, of creation involves light, or understanding, and the second step, faith in the knowing quality of mind. Step 3 is the beginning of the formative activity of mind called imagination. This activity is gathering the waters, or the unexpressed possibilities or capacities of the subconscious mind into one place, one focus, so the imagination can begin rearranging the possibilities, the forms, and the shapes in mind. Now we have light, and we have faith, and we have the movement of possibilities through imagination. Step 4 is the development of the will and the understanding, the spiritual I am and the intellect. We gain understanding by degrees of experience, degrees of faith and trust, degrees of confidence and results, one step at a time. Step 5 in the creation is the bringing forth of sensation and discrimination. The creatures mentioned in the Bible, according to Fillmore, are thoughts. And the birds in the firmament of heaven are ideas approaching spiritual understanding. So to bring anything under divine law, we need ideas, expression, and manifestation. And finally, step 6, in creation is the bringing forth of ideas after their kind. Fillmore says when man approaches the creative level in his thought, he is getting closer to God in his consciousness. And then the realization that he is the very image and likeness of his Creator dawns upon him. This is the consciousness in man of Christ, the Christ consciousness. Now, in the Science Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes also offered an idea similar to Fillmore's about how to create with the power of imagination. This is from the textbook. A good psychological balance is struck when the will and the emotions are rightly poised. That is, when the intellect first decides what the emotions are to respond to. After the intellect has made this decision, then the imagination is called into play and the game of living commences. It is the office of the will to determine that to which the imagination is to respond. He says one of the most important things for us to remember is that we are always causing something to be created for us. We are always causing something to be created. So we are allowed, given the opportunity, to choose what we wish to experience through free will, or we'd just be a bunch of robots. And Holmes recommends that we do so without any hurt in our choices, neither to ourselves nor to others. That we use our imagination to create good with a capital G of all kinds. Through our own mental will, connected with that divine inspiration, we are able to implement our imagination through degrees and steps to bring forth an idea from our subconscious mind. Tweak it, mold it, nurture it, rearrange it, to bring it forth into manifestation. Some form of that original idea. How many of you change your minds? And then the universe has to start all over again and rearrange things. The power of imagination has allowed humankind to walk on the moon. Imagine that. It has created cures for diseases that used to kill millions of people. It has fed the masses and continues to do so through improved farming methods. It has changed the way that we communicate with people around the planet and into space through technological advances. The power of imagination is what causes your mouth to water when you begin to think about biting into a raw lemon. The lemon juice is just running down your cheeks. Your jaws and your cheek muscles are tightening up. You can feel it, yes? The power of imagination has no limit. Now I have this as a handout so that you can take it with you and put it under a magnifying glass. I think one of the greatest uses of humankind's imagination in the last 100+ years or so, and I'm a little biased, I'll admit, has been the creation of the New Thought movement. The men and women who took spiritual and religious ideas, and since I'm going to be marching in with the Grand Valley Interfaith Network today, and this is one of the flags we're going to be carrying, they took information from all of the religions in their various periods of time and study, and develop them, help those seeds of thought evolve into something greater than the original great idea that they had. They just made it up based on what they learned, based on what they thought and where it could go. Now the red circle are the Fillmores, and the blue is Ernest Holmes. Those great thinkers, Emerson, Mesmer, Troward, William James, the Fillmores, Holmes, Hopkins, Emily Cady, Eddy, Fox, Brooks, they borrowed, filtered, and advanced the spiritual ideas that they learned from, and then they developed teachings based on that knowledge that eventually became unity through the Fillmores in 1889, religious science with Holmes in 1927, divine science in 1896, Christian science in 1875, and all the variations of New Thought that we have today. They made it up. Look what came out of the late 1800s and early 1900s through this period of time. All of these different religious denominations of New Thought. Some say it was a period of great inspiration for New Thought, and that it's still evolving. We know that. The language and terminology that we use on these Sunday sermons are often different than what we see in the original textbooks of our founding fathers and mothers. However, the materials that we use in the classrooms are often based on these early works. By studying New Thought history and knowing where we've come from, maybe we won't make the same mistakes, that's one thing, but then we can also blend it with our contemporary authors, Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, whoever else gives you the message that you finally understand something about what it is you're studying, your philosophy. who knows where we'll go from here? We have the opportunity to continue their work, to energize this new thought movement, these teachings, and evolve it into what? Where do we go? Where do we start? At one of the recent Wednesday night classes, the one Deborah is facilitating here, based on Eric Butterworth's book, The Power Within, one of the best Unity books I've read so far, so I'm glad about that. The reading assignment and the subsequent discussion was about prayer. And we shared about how we used to do prayer in our former religious traditions. For me, it was about pleading and begging and bargaining with God, that style of prayer. Anybody familiar with that? That was how I grew up. That was my experience. And then I came into religious science and Unity, both New Thought, and the style of prayer was totally different than what I had learned in childhood. Now, in our class discussion, we compared the old childlike way of prayer to the New Thought methods of doing prayer today. The New Thought way in the class, Michael Gott's video, was described as a way for us to open the door of our minds, our consciousness, to unlimited possibilities and experiences through our connection in spirit. That by revealing where we're stuck or hurt, we can heal our hearts and our minds through prayer. We can create through prayer. Now, Unity has its style, its form of affirmative prayer, its own 5-step prayer process. And Science of Mind has its 5-step prayer treatment. Yet both New Thought philosophies teach prayer as a primary tool to spiritual growth. I was curious about what each of these styles had in common, or what they look like side by side. So Unity's version is from the organization's main website. Step 1, relax, close your eyes. Breathe deeply, let go of outer concerns. Step 2 is to concentrate. Now that's to quiet your mind and begin to focus your thoughts on the Spirit of God within you, whether you're doing that non-verbally or aloud with your chosen words. Meditate with an open mind and a receptive heart. Feel the presence of God within you. Be still and know that I am God. 4 is embrace the silence. In the silence of your soul, know that you are one with God. Allow this realization to permeate your being. And 5, give thanks. Science of Mind. It's called a prayer treatment because you, the person praying, are treating or healing your consciousness about something through the use of prayer, the spoken word, and you are ridding yourself of fears and doubts and uncovering what it is you truly desire, a principle of truth, a God quality, and then claiming it as your own. So recognition, bring your focus, your attention, that divine presence within you. Get silent, relax, meditate, listen for that still small voice. Speak welcoming words of connection and love toward your God self. 2 is unification. Acknowledge your oneness with the divine, the God within, expressing as you. Be still and know. 3 is realization. This is really the action step of the treatment. You focus your mind on what it is you choose to create. See it in your mind. Feel it in your being, as if it's already here. There's an emotional element to this as well. In the mind of God, all things are possible, right here, right now. All you need to do is open up, speak them to start the attraction process, the creation process. Your attention, your intention, your thoughts, your words, your feelings, all of that combined together in prayer is what brings you into that creative process. Speaking I statements, affirmative statements, principle-based statements. You declare what you want as clearly as you know how to do it, with as much feeling as you can. And then 4, thanksgiving, expressing gratitude, and 5 is release. You give it to Spirit. It's pretty hard for the universe to try to create something if you're still holding on to it. You need to let it go. Let the universe go to work on it. You can always take it back if you want and just start it again. Now, when I saw these two methods side by side, and I could actually see how similar these two techniques are, I started to imagine something. Some of you should go, uh-oh. So I asked myself, what would the process look like if these two styles were combined into one process? What if I were just to make it up, like our religious forefathers and mothers did? What would the results be? And this is what I came up with. New Thought 6-step prayer treatment process. And I'd like to do a little experiential with all of you. If you're willing, I'd like you to have the experience of this brand new, first time ever, 6-step prayer treatment process. Are you willing to do that with me? This is going to be our meditation part for the day. Okay, so there's not going to be any music. We're really going to go into the silence here. So, step 1, relax, meditate. Thank you, Deb. And embrace the silence. Prepare yourself for deep prayer. You may already have an idea of what you want to pray about, but for now, just rest in the embrace of Spirit. Clear your mind and breathe. Now bring to focus the principle behind the intent of your prayer, and recognize that the divine presence within you already has supplied you with everything you need. All the God qualities you seek are already present in you. You lack nothing and possess everything. Acknowledge and recognize this divine and generous God that is always part of you. Now move into that mental space of blissful oneness with the divine. You are a child of God, made in the image and likeness, and with the same spiritual characteristics of love, joy, peace, abundance, harmony, clarity, wholeness, creativity. The same universal principles that have been here since the beginning of time. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. God is expressing through you as you. Connect to that God self within. Feel it. Unify with it. Embrace it. Claim it as your own. Immerse yourself into the spiritual stuff. Let the divine essence fill you up. Now that you are one with the power of creation, the spiritual presence of all life, Express your desires of this moment. Declare your intentions into the creative energy of universal law and unlimited possibilities. Let your statements of affirmation obliterate any doubt by declaring what you truly desire as if it is already happening, already here, now. Because all things are possible for the creative intelligence. No desire is too big for spirit. God does not know size. Make your intentions known through the power of the great I Am, with words that announce what you choose to bring into your life, what you wish to experience here and now. Declare it, claim it. And in all things give thanks, gratitude, not just for knowing that all things are possible through God as love, but also for the way divine law works. The words you speak cannot come back to you void. They must manifest in some form, according to your belief. Be grateful for that knowing, for your imagination of a life expressed with such love and joy and peace and abundance and creativity that you know it's a gift. Your life is a gift. Your very breath is a gift. Give thanks. And finally, relax and turn over this prayer to God, to Spirit, to law. We start out relaxing into the prayer, and we end relaxing into life and trust with the divine. Just let it go and allow the universe to move in the direction of your dreams. Relax and know that what you believe and have declared with love and goodness will return to you in kind, for yourself and for others. Take a breath and relax in the light of understanding and the ever-evolving nature of life. Spirit's got this. And then to put closure to the prayer, let your human mind know that we're done with this particular request or prayer. We say Amen or and so it is. Both have the same meaning. Breathe. Open your eyes when you're ready, because you've done it. Lovely to pray that way every day. With the power of imagination, each one of us has created the world we live in and our experiences throughout our lives. We've done it consciously or unconsciously. experiences may overlap. They get messy and chaotic, beautiful and loving, or all of the above. And while sometimes we may have been in a place where life was done unto us, we always have a choice about our reactions and responses to those experiences. Imagination is a powerful force that can take us anywhere. And since we're just making up this thing called life most of the time anyway, why don't we put this power to good use in the way we connect with the God of our understanding through prayer? What do you really want? What are you willing to imagine just for today? Pray for that. I'm going to do a final prayer using these steps, and maybe we can even open the door to more possibilities. Join me if you feel moved to do so. So I'm just going to rest and relax into this moment. Embrace the silence of spirit, the power of silence. As I recognize the one presence that is life, that is love, is law, is all of those God qualities that are me. His presence is forever and always in, through, and expressing as me, as you, as everyone in this world. And through our own free will, we get to choose how we express. We get to make our own choices in this thing called life. At any time, I can go back and reconnect with that divine presence, that spiritual energy that fills me, moves me, beats my heart, allows me to breathe. Because I have nothing to do with any of that. But it is part of me, and I am part of it. And we are one. I am one with that God presence. You are one with that God presence. And together we are one in the highest consciousness. And I realize and declare that this oneness constitutes a spiritual community. I come here each week or each time to connect with like-minded people, to share in song, to share in prayer, to share in consciousness. The volunteers and the board organize and manage and put together these services every week. It's all a part of what we do to serve one another, and we can all help. Sometimes our help is just by showing up. Sometimes help is by donating, bringing food, sharing a Facebook posting, or forwarding an email. I can help in so many ways. Each one of us can. To support and expand this wonderful spiritual community. And for that I am grateful. For the awareness of knowing what I can do, what is possible, for the ability to do it, for knowing that when I put these words out there and my actions also support my thoughts and my intention, that I can only succeed. We can only succeed in our efforts to connect with even others, more like-minded people, to expand this spiritual community. Because at the heart of everything, we are all one. And I give thanks for that, for knowing that I know that I know. And so I release this prayer, these intentions for an expanded spiritual community, expanded in consciousness, expanded in congregants, expanded in financial abundance, whatever way is possible. Expansion is unlimited. The only thing standing in my way is me. But now I let God, Spirit, universe, love, take the reins, take this prayer, and do with it what it will, and I'll do my part. And I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is.